Some fans are online. Let's go to Lewis on line 1. You're talking to Ed Kowalczyk. Bear with the slight delay, guys, because we're in New York and you're there. But this is Ed. Hello, Lewis.
I got a question. Is there a song that maybe you, afterthought, you said, I could go somewhere else with that, or I could have gone somewhere else with that? You just weren't quite happy with the
Good question.
outcome?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think, like one time in particular, the song "Lakini's Juice" off of Secret Samadhi.
Oh, I love that.
I remember we made that record, recorded that song, and about a year after we put it out, this guy named Philip Steer did a version of it, which is like a gangster version of it called "Sipping on Lakini's Juice," and it was like the coolest thing I'd ever heard. And I was like, really like, damn, why didn't we just meet you like a year earlier? I would have made that the version of the song.
I've never heard that version.
It's on the internet. It's like we've never put it out on anything because he just did it for this thing and we never used it for anything. But I'm just like, whoa, man, that would have been so cool to have. So I've actually kind of taught me a lesson, which was, if we hear something or feel something in the studio on a song, like just go for it. When you're making a record, don't hold back, that kind of thing.
I love the bass on that.
And then, oh yeah, and then also, don't a lot of songs develop and mature as you play them more in concert?
Totally. This record 5, about 90% of it was written on the road, so we got to kind of play through the stuff at soundcheck a lot and really get into it. So by the time we recorded the record, they'd already sort of advanced to a certain place. So we did the record in 3 weeks.
Didn't you have a different title at first before you came up with 5?
Yeah, it was called Ecstatic Fanatic for a while. And then we did this really cool photo shoot here in New York with this woman, Connie Guzman, and picked this I thought it was a really cool picture for the cover, because we had never put a photo since Mental Jewelry, which was sort of weird anyway. We never put a picture of us on the cover, so we picked this picture, and Ecstatic Fanatic just didn't work aesthetically with it, because I'm spitting on the cover, I'm sort of peering down the face of this photographer, spitting on the concrete. It's really sort of cool. It's cool. It's aggressive, but it just didn't work with the title, so we just changed it.
Laura, you're on with Ed Kowalczyk.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Ed.
Hello. Hi.
I'm so happy to be able to tell you just how much your music means to me and how much it touches me. And I have a question about one song in particular, Lightning Crashes. I can't hear that song on the radio, and I can't sing that song on the radio without just busting into tears. I don't know if it's because I'm a mom, but I was the idiot at Music Midtown, just standing there singing along with you, just crying her heart out. And I wanted to know...
We're all idiots, honey, in that sense.
I wanted to know what brought you to that song. How did you write that song? What was your thought process? What were you thinking? What was in your heart at the time you wrote it?
Well, at the time, I was 21, 22. I was actually it was about a month before I actually moved out of my mother's house, and I was sitting in my brother's bedroom, actually, with his acoustic guitar, because mine was messed up, broke a string or something. And I remember I just started playing it. A friend of mine had turned me on to Lou Reed about probably 6 months before that, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to tell a story like that, and then I was also thinking Bob Dylan. I was thinking I've always just tried to sing a melody and not, have the lyric come, later. I've never really thought about telling a story, and I just opened my mouth and it just really just sort of came out. It was one of those moments that you dream of as a songwriter. It was really not planned, and I didn't really have a whole sort of experience behind it or anything. It was more of I just followed the lyric where it was going, and in the end it came up to me to be a song about the sort of endless birth death cycle that we all exist in, the fact that and that I really feel that the song kind of, if it makes you feel that way, it makes me feel that way really good in the end. I think that's just it's because it's ultimately love. It's ultimately about the reality of love that goes beyond birth and death.
You just have such a way of connecting with people with the emotion of your song.
I got chills listening to that explanation.
There's something that I don't. I mean, when was the last time, Barnes, you sat down and thought about that kind of... I never think about that kind of stuff.
Every day, Jimmy.
The meaning,
That's why he's an artist.
It is. It's there's a whole other part of the brain going on there that I wake up and I'm like, I think I need a cookie. I'm not contemplating life.
Where's my balance bar?
Have children, don't burn to mush.
We're live in New York. Barnes, Leslie, and Jimmy. Ed Kowalczyk is here. The first time I was working at a station in Kansas City in 1990, and I was up late one night. I had the 7 to midnight shift at one point, and I came home and I was watching that. Remember that Up All Night on USA?
Yeah, with Rhonda Shear.
Or whatever it was.
Jimmy, good recall.
I'm flipping through.
Well, she married a friend of mine,
Oh,
so
did she?
yeah.
got my big bag of chips, with the picante sauce and having a cocktail, watching TV. And I never forget the first time I saw this band that I had no idea who they were. And I saw Live. I was like, what is Live? I kept seeing, and I saw the video for Operation Spirit.
Oh, right.
Just out of nowhere. And I thought, God, who is this guy? And I went to all the record company people, wouldn't service, wouldn't send over the record, had a hell of a time getting it. And I guess this was right before the big record deal. And they were like, well, what song is it? I said, did you give it up? Did you give it up? I said, I don't know. It's just... And then they finally got it to us, and we started just playing the hell out of it. That's cool. It was so cool to just find it out of nowhere like that. That video is super cool.
Now,
thank you.
So, when you were growing up, because a lot of artists we talk to who are very animated on stage, almost every artist picked a move of somebody that they grew up watching and was influenced by. Who were your influences? If I really look hard, who can I see in your your body movement on stage?
Well, for stage, oh wow, I do a pretty good Michael Stipe, I have to say.
You kind of get the hand finger.
See the Michael
I can do that. Then I can roll my eyes behind,
Were you a big REM fan?
Huge, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you say the roll the eyes, like an Eddie Vedder thing?
No, see, Eddie got it from Michael too, though. Michael, that first Unplugged where he's singing that high note and his eyes just kind of flutter and they roll back.
Oh yeah,
kind of drops into this samadhi state, this trance state.
Was it a secret samadhi state?
Yeah. I think so. At that moment, but that was inspirational, and so I catch myself doing that. Actually, that's a spontaneous thing when you lose yourself. A lot of times, you do it when you pass out too, but sometimes musically it happens where you just